Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Jimmy Good, and joining me this week is an incredibly special guest, my friend Ian Hinck. How you doing there, pal?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm better now. I know we've been talking before this, but still, I always like people to show up like we just started this, so it's not like we had this secret conversation about all of them. No, I'm just kidding. No,
we've been talking about you, listeners.
Yeah, we were talking specifically about you. And how
only
much
good
care.
things.
You look so good, you listeners. You look so good. Have you been working out? Good for you working out at home like you're doing. I'm trying to. It's not easy. It's not easy.
I've done it once. I think I did Ring Fit once. Ooh. This whole quarantine.
What's Ring Fit?
Ring Fit Adventure on the Switch.
Oh.
It has like a ring, a compression. I don't know what you call it, Yeah, it's fun. It's an RPG exercise game. It's actually pretty good.
Dang.
And you get tired. It's a workout,
sure.
like legitimate workout.
That reminds me a little bit of like the Wii Fit stuff they had back in the day, which that stuff I remember trying a few times back in college, and I was like, yeah, this is actually kind of legit. I was like, good on you.
I would say it's a spiritual successor to that. I don't know if it's made by the same people or what, but I'd say it's better.
Sure.
It's actually a game with a story and stuff.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So there's more effort. This was that was just the base, and now they're building on it. The lore, that's what you need. Cool. Yeah. How long did you play that for? Out of curiosity, did you say?
I've played it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. Each time for well, it's weird because it measures. So if you play for an hour, you might have 15 or 20 minutes of actual exercise time.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of like that. I'll go for. Now I can jump in and out faster. I don't need to calibrate it or anything. So I don't know, 20 minutes or something.
Cool. Nice.
And then I feel like garbage.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like Ian, after when I was on Easy Update, we were talking about makeup. Now we're talking about fitness. I feel like it's just we're slowly trending towards having some sort of health and wellness channel. So I'm really looking forward to the day that we're just you know what? Let's just leave it all behind. And we'll just start giving out lots of great. You'll be like, all right, so today's workout, we're gonna be using Ring Fit. It's gonna be really good, and I'll be trying to be I think this is Maybelline. I don't know.
Get some resistance bands.
Get those resistance bands. Look at that. So much resistance.
Ugh.
Dude, looking swole, bro.
Video users will have to forgive the mess behind me. We're rebuilding our computers.
Nothing wrong with that.
Got a bunch of parts in today. Except for my processor. I'm getting a new processor, and it is still processing on Newegg, so it hasn't shipped yet.
Oh.
So I got everything except that.
Okay, cool. So that's pretty exciting, though. Do you want to tell people, just graphics card-wise and stuff like that? I don't know if there's any tech specs that people would want to be like, I need to know this.
I've already got a 2080 Super, and then the CPU that's on its way is a Ryzen 3950X.
Okay.
And then this is the motherboard, the X570 Ace by MSI.
Cool.
And I got 64 gigs of RAM.
Nice.
And some M2 hard drives and a liquid cooling system.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. Going all out.
Out.
When you do video stuff, unfortunate side effect is you have to have a really beefy machine all the time.
Yeah, I'm starting to figure that out myself. But good old Nightshade over here is still kicking. I gotta dust her off one of these days and figure out some stuff. And man, memory, it's so funny between this and gaming and stuff, how big of a deal memory plays a factor.
Yeah.
Because there's the memory you have here, and then the external memories, and trying to move things off of your PC so it's not eating up more space. Because I look at them I can't fill up that much multiple drives, and then I look at them I did.
Oh, you're talking about hard drive memory space.
Yeah. So a consideration, but then again, it's one of those things too with the Xbox where I was okay, I got an external memory a long time ago because that way I don't have to delete games or uninstall games and then reinstall them and all that. I'm just I'll just keep getting them because it's a 4 terabyte external hard drive.
I finally got an SSD for my PS4, and boy, external SSD, and man, that makes games way snappier.
Good.
My PS4 is for sure on its way out, though. It's not a Pro. It's and not a Slim. It's just the original PS4, it like beeps all the time, like it thinks you're pressing the eject button, and the controllers now don't like sync to it all the time, and it's really weird.
Do we think that there's any chance that Sony built these problems in around this time? So like, all right, they'll last like this long, right? And then when we're like PS5's coming, it's like, oh, it looks like the PlayStation 4 is starting to break down. Might as well trying to purchase a new like PlayStation 5, you know?
Maybe. I've long suspected Apple does things like that, but who knows?
I feel you. Yeah, but that's a good point. And look at this. Today we've already covered fitness, we've covered computers, we've covered games, and these are none of the things we're talking about today, which is so good because it's just so much fun to talk to. But today we're going to talk about one thing and one thing only, nothing else ever again. We're talking about Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
One of the greatest movies of all time, at least for me. That's an opinion. It's not a fact because a lot of people state their opinions as facts, and that gets a little frustrating. But
I think that one's pretty close to a fact.
Yeah, and you love it. It's one of your top films, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's top 10ish. Maybe.
Definitely top 100.
Oh,
easily.
It's fallen down the list now.
Oh no, it's in there. I don't know. Top 10 probably. Okay. I don't know. I'd have to look at my I do have a list.
Oh.
I haven't looked at it in a while, so who knows where it is. But I have throughout the course of my life, we developed a system of time where there's BJP and AJP, which is before Jurassic Park and after Jurassic Park. So year zero is 1993.
That's amazing.
So right now it's 17 or whatever. I don't know how to do math.
Yeah, 17 AJP.
AJP, yeah. The year 17 AJP right now. So I've been using that system. I've got a calendar that's set to that, you know.
The year of our Lord Rexy.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I would love to see or have that list or hear that list because I feel like it would allow me to understand you better, like your top 10 list of all time. Because I'd be like, these are interesting.
Well, Cache is on there.
I have never heard of that.
It's a Michael Haneke film.
Whoa. I have to learn these things. This is good. I broaden my horizons when I hang out with you.
Upstream Color, Princess Bride.
Oh, Princess Bride. That's a lot of people love that one.
Oh, I love Princess Bride.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And Jurassic Park might be in.
Jurassic Park might be in there somewhere.
Might be in there somewhere. Maybe somewhere. Well, it's funny because I was gonna have you on the show here, and I was like, we should talk about a movie or something, and I talk about Jurassic Park a lot. And my other co-host Joe, that's one of his favorite films of all time, and we're similar. We're like Lord of the Rings is like the highest echelon for us, and then like Jurassic Park is like right next to it as far as like these are the things that we love the most as when it comes to movies and kind of rewatching them over time and stuff like that. But I think one of the things that I love so much about this movie and like Lord of the Rings is I had no preconceived notions when I watched this the first time, and I feel like there's been so much just like chasing after it since. Like there's so many things, and like not that dinosaur movies were really prominent after, because when you did it was like it might be on the Sci-Fi Channel, no one could really do it to the same like level.
Godzilla tried. In 98.
Godzilla did try, and they tried hard. Matthew Broderick tried so hard. But man, and I was just watching it before we started here today, and it's like I really have to be super duper nitpicky to like find things that I don't like. And again, I love it so much, but there's like tiny little things, just super tiny, but they don't really matter in the grand scheme of it. And there's still so much magic in this film.
What little nitpicks do you have?
Oh, they're like, we'll start with that. Let's start. All right.
Let's start at the bottom and work our way up.
First things first. The Nedry sequence when he dies to the Dilophosaurus. There's a few problems I have there. First off, there's a weird slipping noise that they add in when he falls down the hill. Completely unnecessary. It's like when they add a bowling like pin noise when like somebody runs into a bunch of people in a movie and they make like you're like it's like what, why?
It's weird because like stuff like that on your first watch, I feel like your brain almost doesn't even catch them.
Nope, just skips it.
But then the second time you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's super weird. But that whole sequence, I feel it feels really unnecessary just to be like, all right, the Barbasol can is not going to go to the other company. And almost
Yeah.
in some ways, I think it would have been more exciting if it had, because like then the sequels would have been like, well, there's another company who's out there trying to like kind of beat you to the punch. You
It
know?
would have made Lost World make way more sense. Like instead of Hammond having a secret island that was never mentioned, where animals are being, that's where they breed them and then they move them over here, even though we saw them being bred in this one
Yep.
on this island.
And they didn't want them to breed ever in the first
Yeah.
place because they're like, if they ever, no, that's just a safety
It's
precaution.
just like, wait a minute.
I got a question here, and it's like, okay, how do we get Jeff Goldblum back on an island?
Yeah.
But yeah, but that whole sequence feels a little strange, and not that I'm saying I could take out a Dilophosaurus. I'm not saying that, all right? All I'm saying is that sequence seems a little strange because it goes really quick, and somehow the thing kind of gets in the Jeep with him.
Yeah. It can open Jeep doors probably, no problem.
Well, it's not. Maybe it snuck in like the door that was already open. I don't know.
He left the door open. But
yeah.
It's pretty weird. Well, and also the other thing is like, I know it's raining, it's torrential rain, but how many roads are on this island? It's like you work here. You're gonna know how to get to the helipad.
Yeah, and he was panicking and everything, but still.
The boat. He's going to the boat.
Yeah, he would have figured out how to get to the boat. You know.
Yeah.
He should have planned this out.
Head downhill, Nedry.
Yeah, head downhill. Also, and this is kind of part of his thing too, I think a few of the dinosaur names are misspelled in the cryo chamber. I could be wrong on that. Yeah, like I think Stegosaurus might be wrong. There's somebody's pointed this out to me in the past where there's like one or two that might. It's just like again, just microscopic little things, people. Like not big deals. One of the ones
that spitty dinosaur.
Yeah.
Dilophosaurus or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Apparently not a real dinosaur. It's like a combination of three dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the spit thing is not a real thing.
Yeah, not real.
Yeah.
Also, is like, is it acidic or is it just sticky? Like
they say it's like poisonous and it's sticky, I guess. So but it's supposed to kill its prey and then that way it can eat at its leisure. So I guess it would have been different if like he would have gotten hit with it and been driving away and then like then died or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it's just that whole sequence is kind of like.
If Cronenberg had directed this, that's what would have happened.
I'm sure
he would have like gotten to the boat and then like gotten boils and like died horrifically over time.
Yeah, he would have been like all of his money couldn't save him with the Dilophosaurus poison,
exactly.
and he's like, no. So there's that. Obviously, small, like tiny little edit points where it's like, oh, you could see like the person's hand on the back of the Velociraptor walking into the kitchen sequence, which I just saw. It is. You have to look for it though. It is so.
Oh, I've never noticed that.
It's super duper tiny. It's somebody. One of like, it was like a stagehand or somebody in the kind of visual effects, or like they're kind of like balancing it down to kind of tip it so it like kind of rears up a little bit more to kind of steady it. It's great.
Yeah, because they're a combination. Practical and CG.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The T-Rex, kind of the paddock that's also a cliff.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different portion.
That's the most famous one.
Yeah, or like the fence line that doesn't, like the one that they're trying to get around when the electrical fence is going off. Like you have to pause it and look, but you can see the fence. Like they only built so much fence. Like they weren't going to build it for miles. Like they could have just walked around it. But yeah, it's mostly that. Like it's super duper tiny stuff. Like nothing bad. Like everything else in this movie to me feels so pitch perfect. Like the casting, the score, the setting, like just the overall theme and the build up is just so nice. But are there any like little qualms that you have with it that you want to talk about before we dive in?
My only qualm, I guess, is the pacing is a little weird.
Okay.
And maybe it's just if you've seen it before, because like it's like an hour before you see. I think it's like 50 minutes before. I don't know if it's before you see dinosaurs or before like they break loose or something. But like obviously you've got to set things up.
Yeah.
And there's a little weird lull with the ice cream scene, but that's again like a false sense of security scene. So it's like I know why it's there.
Yeah.
So it's like it's something ineffable. I can't really put my finger on it. I feel like there's like, and it's slight. It's like there are 3 minutes too many in this movie, but I don't know where they are.
Sure.
You know, something like that. Maybe just like cumulative, like 93 editing versus today editing, where things now are a lot tighter usually and quicker. But I mean, that's a stupid nitpick.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't really have a problem with this movie. And I think like Spielberg even addressed the big cliff thing where it's like, like he's like, obviously it wasn't like, but it doesn't matter. Like you're not gonna notice this if it's fun and cool. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because like you can explain away some of it where you're like, oh well, maybe there was a giant cliff and it was just at a different portion,
just
because the
and I
T-Rex
mean
had
that
ripped apart things. You know,
in your brain you can be like, okay, the goat was over here on the left, the bathrooms are way over there, and then the cliff is like across from the bathrooms. Like,
Yeah.
okay, sure. Even though like when you look at it later, it's like, okay, well the whole thing is a cliff, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. Also, why would there be a cliff there? Because then you would never see the T-Rex.
Yep, exactly.
From the cars, but it's
yeah, and then like when Alan and Tim and Lex are kind of getting away from that sequence, like after all that, they like kind of go up a tree and where the Brachiosaurus are. So I'm like, are those things separated? Like the Brachiosaurus and the T-Rex, they must be, but I don't know how they got through it because they don't talk about it. So maybe it didn't matter at that point. But they just kind of
good point. Those are.
I don't know.
Maybe
again,
they washed down the hill or something.
they washed.
I've been to that tree where they find the eggs.
What you have?
It's in Kauai.
Oh my
Hawaii,
gosh.
at what is it? McCormick, Mackenzie, something. There's a garden at the end of the island.
Oh,
you have
cool.
to take a private tour down in there, but I can't remember what kind of trees those are. Mango trees, maybe.
Oh,
but that's where they filmed that. So we got pictures with the like fake eggs that they have there, little prop eggs.
Oh, cool.
They look more like giant pills and
sure, yeah.
they're props. But yeah, and a different year I flew over the waterfall from this movie.
Yes,
so it's very, very cool.
I want to do that. I really want to do that so badly because I obviously
Kauai is amazing.
I've been to, I think it was a big island in Maui, but I didn't go to Kauai. So I've heard that's the more rainy island. So
yeah, it'll rain.
I don't know.
It'll rain.
It'll rain
for
sometimes. Sure. And there's dinosaurs running free on it now, which I'm surprised that people are still living there. It's like
yeah. Oh well, they they're pretty harmonious if you're not trying to steal company secrets. They just leave you alone. If you're not a lawyer.
they'll kill you otherwise.
Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson, it was just a misunderstanding.
It was a misunderstanding, and like they felt so bad about it, they were probably trying to put him together, and that's why his arm is propped up somewhere. And they're like, "Oh, can you like?"
They're like, sorry, man.
Ooh, yeah. That's that reminds me, and I have to dig it up, but I did a while ago make a video translating what the T-Rex is actually saying in the movie, and it's better than anybody else's translations because I had my golden retriever translated. So it's definitely legitimate. So maybe for the Raptors one day. How do you turn the Raptors into heroes? I don't know, but maybe they were the whole time. Maybe
misunderstood,
they were. Yeah, because the T-Rex.
They have a whole other storyline of their own. They were fed some false intel.
Yeah.
They thought that the hunter was stealing company secrets, but he wasn't. Yeah.
That was their whole thing. That'd be amazing. They're like, we programmed the dinosaurs. They're all female. They have a lysine deficiency, and they're also really, really devoted to the company.
Yeah. They just want to protect InGen and its interests.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. If only the lawyer could have talked to them beforehand, and they would have a little briefing. But apparently the T-Rex, he didn't get to talk to the T-Rex either. Anyway,
the T-Rex was thinking the long game, because the lawyer wanted to just cater to the ultra rich, but the T-Rex was like, we'll make more money in the long term catering to a wider audience.
Yep. Dude,
the T-Rex he was just thinking the big game, you know.
That is so well put. Which reminds me of another little nitpick I have. Maybe you can explain it to me. Intro scene, I love it so much. Raptor pen, putting new raptor into the enclosure. Gate comes up, cage is here, gate is here. Raptor runs at it and hits something, causing the cage to move backwards.
Yeah.
Is the raptor digging into something and like kind of like headbutting?
I always thought that maybe the cage wasn't aligned and the raptor pushed, because the raptor isn't trying to go into the cage, it's trying to get out to the people.
Yeah.
I think so. It probably pushes on the wall next to the door to the cage, or maybe the door to the cage is smaller, so it's like than the cage, which would make, or the door to the the thing they're trying to put it into is smaller than the cage it's already in. So I think it pushes back with its strong hind legs, and the cage is on wheels, like we see that.
Yeah.
So
that's what it probably is.
I guess it's that he like headbutts the wall and pushes it back.
Yeah.
To get out.
Sure.
because they understand doors and mechanisms and stuff apparently. So
They do. They were briefed on it because it's all InGen, like,
yeah,
special.
InGen's like, look, here's how you get through the security door, just in case.
Yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, that was another funny thing. But I love that the beginning of this film shows so much restraint because it's like a bunch of like just Jurassic Park workers who are looking at this thing, and you see like the trees moving, and you're like, oh, here we go, dinosaurs, and it's like, not yet. And like there's obviously like the kind of the hints at the raptor, and you see like Muldoon and all of that, but it's such a great like, we're gonna show you the dinosaurs, but we're not gonna show them yet, because it's like, Spielberg knew, he's like, I've got a few different cards here I can play, but if I play them all too early, people are just gonna check out, because if you're like, oh, we saw the raptor and the T-Rex in the first 20 minutes, you're like, what else are you gonna do? What else can surprise?
He learned a lot of really good lessons from Jaws,
yes,
and from Bruce the shark malfunctioning so much that it actually made the movie better.
Yeah.
I think he took a page out of his own book and was like, okay, save the big boys.
Yeah, save
for the second half.
You're totally right, and just have it be a lot about like internal politics, just like just like Jaws was, where it was more about like this mayoral campaign, and he's got an election coming up. Like if you guys haven't watched Jaws well, go back and watch it, and you'll be like, there's a lot of like intertown politics. Like
it's mostly talking. It's like Home Alone, where it's like the stuff you remember is 4 minutes of that movie.
Yep. The rest of that movie is just some mom who's going like, oh my gosh, Kevin. And it's
and Kevin just like dicking around.
Yep. Yeah, it's just like terrifying a pizza man or whatever, and not having to like talk to a pizza man directly.
Well, and that movie's like 80 minutes long, so.
Yeah, it moves. It's brisk. But yeah, I love that opening. I know I talked to you about this before. I think it's like some sort of Japanese flute or something. That weird, like,
oh yeah,
like the score.
Maybe it's shakuhachi, like in Ghost of Tsushima.
It's the only thing it possibly could be. But obviously everyone knows the iconic score from Jurassic Park, which they save not even for the dinosaurs, but kind of showing the island this time. But that beginning intro, John Williams, just like, it sets the tone so perfectly. But then there's also this kind of militaristic tone that they play when they kind of like go to the visitor center or something. So it's this mixture of like the natural world, the beauty, the splendor, but then also kind of like man and like construction and like kind of, again, military, but they're not really military in this one. They do really lean into that in later movies, right. But for this one, not so much.
It's like a hubristic sort of corporate optimism.
That for sure. That's perfectly put, man. That's amazing. Good
job. It's like, well, and that's what it's about, right? Is like I think I don't know if it's exactly the thesis statement of the entire movie, but when Ian Malcolm says like, you got so preoccupied with whether or not you could, you never stopped to think whether or not you should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is a great segue, I think, into talking about the characters, which are, man, I was looking through them, and they all play it like the way they're supposed to, because sometimes in a movie you get like maybe one or two characters who don't maybe hit like what they need to, or they're not
in a slightly different world.
Yeah, but everybody here feels like, I don't know, it seems like they're all on point for the most part. And, obviously one that comes to mind for a lot of people is Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm, who is this super cynical guy who obviously gets proven right and is kind of like the rock star of the mathematician world, which is like a hilarious thing. Because I'm sure there's somebody out there who is that, but it's so funny the way he is portrayed in this movie. But he does a great job, and he obviously is kind of like this big counter to kind of the thesis of Jurassic Park being a good thing. He's just like, I think this is kind of a horrible idea, and you are all going to pay for it, basically.
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
I think when you cast Jeff Goldblum in something, you know that you're casting Jeff Goldblum in something.
Yeah.
And I think he's a really fun actor, but he definitely... It's interesting because like my initial first blush, you want to say Jeff Goldblum always just plays Jeff Goldblum, but I think about like The Fly and a few of his other roles where it's like, that's not true. That's not like, now he pretty much just plays Jeff Goldblum, like Thor Ragnarok and stuff. He's just like having fun being Jeff Goldblum, whatever. This one is somewhere in between. I think he's like a serious, but yeah, like rock star of the mathematician world is the way to put it. But yeah, he's definitely the most maybe outlandish character besides Nedry, maybe.
Yeah.
Because the movie, Nedry plays it like a cartoon character almost, and the movie kind of treats him like a cartoon character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you pointed out the little slippery noise earlier, but like, yeah. Jeff Goldblum's character, though, I think he's pitch perfect in this because it's just like, yeah, he's sardonic and he's not taking any of this too seriously until he does. Like, what I like is once he gets hurt or once people start getting hurt and it gets serious, he stops joking around.
That's true.
Like, he jokes around in a less, like, frivolous way.
Mm-hmm.
He'll still maybe make a little comment here and there, but he's very serious for the last part of the movie. So that's what endears him to you as a character is like, I feel like a lot of modern movies and lesser movies do this kind of thing where like there's the sardonic comic relief guy who just is always that.
Yeah.
And like even when things are completely out of control, falling apart, they're still like cracking dumb jokes and stuff. And sometimes it's a defense mechanism, whatever, but like this one shows you like, oh, this is a human being too. Like he's scared.
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
totally.
nice.
Yeah, there's like some great exchanges that he has in the car, the Explorer with Grant, stuff where he's kind of talking like he's still like it's kind of a bad situation, but he's like, I'm still gonna see if like Ellie Sattler's on the market, and he like you kind of learn a little more about him, and he's like, I'm always on the lookout for the next future like Mrs. Malcolm, and you're like, oh my gosh, but then he's not a jerk for no reason. Like the car stops, and Grant immediately is like, oh, what did I touch? Because he's kind of like a technological EMP that he thinks of himself,
right.
And instead of Goldblum or I'll say Malcolm just being like, dude, this is your fault. He's like, you didn't touch anything. He's like, we stopped. Like he's very aware of what's going on all the time, even if he's gonna like make jokes about things, but he's not gonna like go after you for no reason. Like he's not like actually picking fights.
I quite like that scene too because it feels very much like there's a mutual respect between those two characters. It's like two guys just like, Malcolm is like feeling it out, and then he's like, yeah, we're kind of a thing. And he's like, all right, and then it never comes up again.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sad because like, for a lot of that movie that Grant thinks he is just like a piece of garbage. Like he just kind of doesn't think much of this guy. And then later on when Grant finds the eggs, like by the tree you saw, he's like, Ian was right. So like, I wish we could have had like another good moment between the two where it's kind of like, hey buddy, like, yeah, you're totally right. Like he's like, look what I found. Like, something like this kind of mutual kind of respect, even more so,
They don't. Wait, are they even ever in like a scene again together until the helicopter?
No, not really. I don't think.
Because he's like propped up by the maps or whatever.
Yeah, he can't really move.
Yeah. Yeah. He's with Hammond the whole time. Weird, yeah.
Yeah, which I didn't realize until this viewing that he actually puts a tourniquet on his own leg. I was like, I didn't realize that. He takes off his belt and he puts a tourniquet on his left leg, I think it is. And
I was he does a makeshift splint and
I was like,
has it propped up in foam.
Yeah, I do love just him sitting in the back of the Jeep while, Muldoon and Sattler are away, and he's like, you hear that? That's a tremor impact. And he's like starting to go, he's like, I'm quite terrified right now. He's like, we gotta get, he's having the PTSD of a thing that happened like a half an hour ago, and it's like already coming back, and he's like, no, not again. It's like, we gotta go.
When he leans back onto the stick shift, and Muldoon's like, get off the bloody lever, or whatever he calls it.
Oh my gosh, that
bloody move.
Yeah, I love that. And that kind of ties into that mirror shot, which this movie, not every shot I'm going to say is like this, but there are just like probably like 10, 20, maybe more iconic shots where you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, like that is, and the one that I'm just,
glass of water on the dashboard, like
which I don't know, for a lot of people who know this, you probably do, Ian, how they actually finally got that effect to work because it wasn't working.
Check me if I'm wrong or right. I believe they affixed a piano or guitar string below it and then plucked it.
Yep.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Nice.
Very
Do you remember if it was a guitar or piano?
It's a guitar.
Guitar,
yeah. Because I think I always remember. I always thought of them like putting an actual guitar like in the actual dashboard, which makes no sense. Yeah, just like like
Doof Warrior from Mad Max Fury Road is just in the hood of the car,
Amazing. I didn't know that guy's name was Doof Warrior.
Doof Warrior.
Dude,
yeah.
he's great. I love him.
He's great.
He's amazing.
Fury Road. We should do another episode about Fury Road. That is an amazing movie.
Don't tempt me. I'm more than happy to. I will talk with you about Fury Road. Oh, dude, Furiosa, man, so good.
I saw it in black and white in the theaters. It was cool.
Oh, that's cool too.
What did you say?
I said visual storytelling. There's so much going on there where you're like. Something about the boot. There's a lot of it's about shoes and boots and respect, and baby.
Centered framing of the action so that it's never confusing to the eye.
Yeah, and using CGI to enhance something, like adding a mountain range as opposed to like adding a bunch of vehicles. Like obviously they do in that kind of. That's for the Fury Road. Well,
really great compositing. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
It's great. Tom Hardy, he acts with his eyes. You know.
Speaking of CG, one of the first use, not the very first, but first like widespread usage of CG in Jurassic Park, and it still looks better than a lot of CG today.
Yeah, that's one thing I thought was interesting because like when you watch Lost World, and maybe it's just me, I feel like they made the T-Rexes look like their eye structure, like the ridges, they tried to make them look like actual like evil, kind of cartoonish. But this
one, I would not be surprised.
This one does not have that. That like I will say this: when the T-Rex comes out to get them in the Jeep, his eyes and his teeth, or her teeth, they almost look like they're glowing. Like she's just coming out. She's like from behind the tree. She's like, "I'm back," and it's just like, "Whoa, oh my gosh!" But she looks so good.
Because the lights of the car are illuminating it, right?
I guess the tail lights might be. Maybe that makes sense.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
But no, dude, you're right. The CG, and I was just getting to the raptor scene, and obviously you can tell. But they do such a good mix, and there's one really good moment where they mix the two, and I didn't realize it until now. So when the T-Rex comes out in the beginning, it walks past the Ford Explorer, and you see Grant and whatever. And then for some odd reason, the T-Rex, I guess, circles back around, because the next thing you see of the T-Rex is kind of bumping against Ian Malcolm's right-hand side of the Explorer. Yeah. And then it sees the kids with the flashlight. And they do this shot where they kind of bring it down, and then they move forward, and then it goes from the physical T-Rex to a CGI one in like one swoop. Like they do, it's really good. It's super brief. I'm pretty sure that's how it worked, but yes, man, it looks great. It looks really good. Like
one of the main reasons it looks so good is that because they did try to do it practically, they had the lighting reference on the actual model in the space, and so the CG artists could match it almost perfectly. Which when in lesser CG, you know, everything, like especially from this era and a little after, everything looks like gamma washed out, like the gamma is not right and the lighting is weird. Everything looks like lighter, than everything. Yeah. And it's because one of the reasons I think is because they didn't have that lighting reference. I mean, I'm not a CG artist, but I know that's part of why it looks good in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, well, it's really cool because like if you go back and watch some of that behind the scenes stuff, especially the Gallimimus kind of flocking this way moment, they kind of show how they were tracking the characters who kind of look up at something, and they tried to make sure that like a Gallimimus would be like here, and it'd be here and be here. So like they're looking at stuff all the time. There's 3 different characters in that shot or that sequence that are looking at things, and it's like. Like this is all, and I think of it too. I'm like Spielberg was doing this, and he's doing Schindler's List at the same time. Like after, like he's editing dinosaurs, but they also do like I'm like I don't like you're nuts.
That's
man.
A tone shift.
That's a huge tone shift. But yeah, I just the CG does not look bad, and one thing I think people forget about too, and I forget a lot about it, are the herbivores that actually get physical versions, and there's obviously CGI versions too, but the Brachiosaurus and the Triceratops, which that first shot, feeling so confident in their CGI back in '93 with the Brachiosaurus, like that scene still gives me goosebumps. Like even talking about it still kind of freaks me out, but like the acting and everything is so good. But that, like, all that stuff still looks not that bad. Like, it looks pretty good for 27 years ago or whatever it is. It's like, that's pretty good. Do you have any favorite, like, of the dinosaurs CG or not CG as far as, like, look goes?
The Triceratops scene is really good just because you get so close up.
Yeah.
And, like, it's obviously incredible. Grant on the stomach, like, going up and down is a famous moment. Hopefully you've seen that GIF of Grant on Ian Malcolm's stomach when he has his shirt open. Yeah, it's great.
It's a good one.
But I mean, the T-Rex escape scene is just like top tier stuff.
Yeah.
Just filmmaking wise, pacing, everything about that is just so good.
Yeah.
So it's hard to top that. The one shot that I do like is the Velociraptor silhouette at the end of the ice cream scene.
Mm-hmm.
Or like at the end of the
The Jello
Lex
scene.
Jello scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ice cream comes later. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too.
No, the ice cream comes before. You don't
Oh yeah,
question
ice
yourself,
cream
you know.
first, Jello. Yeah.
See, I like one that's like that, but it's the one near the end where the raptor's looking up, like to the ceiling into the ventilation shafts, and they've got the DNA
Oh,
all over it, like the
GAPC.
projection. Like it.
Yeah.
I was like, that right there. It's not something people talk about a lot. It is just like encapsulating the perfection of that moment, because it's just like, I don't know how you'd make a better shot than that one, because it's like, all right, so this thing that was a concept with all these like letters that we have kind of used to understand DNA, if we could use that to bring about life, and here's that life trying to kill us. It's like, I don't know.
Women inherits the earth.
Yeah, which is so funny. That line, is that a joke? Is that a joke line that she throws out there? Or is Ellie? Do you think Ellie?
I mean, I think she's just making
I'm making it funny.
Quip.
Yeah, because it's like every time I think about that, and then I think of like the scene where the raptor almost gets her, and you're like, oh no. If only Ellie could befriend them. If we could just talk to these dinosaurs and be like, we're all for the company. We love InGen so much.
Takes Chris Pratt to do that.
Which I just in a forest.
It's just so dumb.
See, I would love to talk to you about Jurassic World someday. Like I've
only seen each of them once,
so
really? My memory on those is not very good.
I just want
another scene real quick from Jurassic Park, or another shot, is when the T-Rex eyes dilates down because of the flashlight. That's so good.
Yeah, and there's actually, I was looking at that scene because I was like, okay, let's like really look at this. So obviously it kind of, shrinks in that moment, but it even gets another shot to kind of get away from it just a little bit. And it doesn't go back to full right away. It goes to like one level and then another level.
Yeah,
like it's kind of readjusting out of the light. And I was like that kind of stuff you can do with CGI for sure. But the fact that it was there and they like did it, and I don't know if that like the eye was CGI or if that was part of like the puppet itself. It's so good. Like I don't know how you make that better. I have heard though that that the moment that it does crash down into the Explorer onto the kids, that was a little like more than they anticipated for. So that shot that you see there was like, it was a little much, and like the kids were like, yeah, it actually kind of smashed down and almost like kind of crushed us. I was like, oh, that's good.
Apparently, I don't know if it was because it was raining, but it was heavier than they thought, so it broke the window and it wasn't supposed to.
Which is great because it adds like a genuine terror to that scene.
It became like one of the most iconic shots or moments too, where like the kids holding the glass up, which of course like makes no sense, but in the moment,
yeah, exactly.
You're just like, oh no,
there's like a piece of it that breaks off and everything.
Yeah,
you're right. It's got this weird kind of fracture to it, and you're like, good stuff. We're talking about characters though. I suppose we should talk about Tim and Lex for a second. They're not the biggest characters in the thing, but I'll say this: as far as kids go, especially in like a horror movie or something like this or a thriller, they are really not that bad. Like they're not super annoying like they could have been. They do a pretty good job with it. I'm like, well done.
They're with Tim they do a good job of like, he's the fanatic kid who loves dinosaurs and is just talking to Grant about it all the time. Yeah, but it's like realistic. And then Lex is like she's a little older, so she's a little more like shy and like, I think they did a really good job with them. And like, I was 8 when this movie came out, and I was surprised that my dad let me go see it in the theaters. And like, I was like basically the age of these kids, like somewhere in between. So it was fun to have an analog, up there on the screen too, and just be like, oh,
Totally.
Well, and it's so nice too, because Grant's little arc about kids, and my favorite moment when Grant would be a good dad is when he just goes, I'm not going to tell anybody you threw up. Like, don't worry.
So good. Dude, it's so good.
Weird. Yeah, and then Tim's like, okay, I'm coming. I'm going to count to 3,
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Oh, for sure.
I prefer to be called a hacker.
Yeah, I like how they spread that out because usually in movies, like the nerdy person is also the computer person, but it wasn't like Tim was going to be like
Right, both.
the kind of the geeky dinosaur guy, but then also be like, I know everything about computers. It was like, okay, they split it up, and that's good because I was like, there's a little differentiation there. That's nice. So and also kind of hinting at abilities people have that are going to come into play later on.
Well,
you know,
it's funny because like this movie does it well in a believable way, where it's like within the fiction of this universe, where like T-Rex can't see if you don't move, whatever.
Yeah.
Like Tim knowing that is important information, but it doesn't feel like, you know, you're watching like a bad movie or bad TV show when like something really early on, someone says a line that's a little too innocuous and it like bumps you and you're like, okay, obviously that's going to be important later.
Yeah.
This is just like, yeah, the kid knows stuff about dinosaurs. Like, and then like she's established that she understands computers. So with their hilarious graphic user interface later, you're like, okay, yeah, she would know this.
Yeah.
Which plays.
I also love too that like they're showing like they're like Jurassic Park engineers and scientists are using virtual reality to look at these DNA strands and find the holes and then plug them with like the amphibian DNA. And I was like, I love there's like one dude in there who's got like the gloves on and he's kind of like, yeah, I found him. It's like,
which like if you were doing it that way, it would take like thousands of years because there are so many.
It's ridiculous. Like he's like, I'll do it one at a time.
One at a time.
One at a time. He's like, this is the way. This is
one
the right
handful
way.
Of DNA at a time.
I love it. I was like, you know what, but good on them for trying some VR stuff because it helps it a little bit. Because when you watch this movie that came out like over 25 years ago, you're like, there's some good ideas here. And you're like, you know what? The whole dinosaur bird thing, that's pretty good. Which I love that. And I forgot that Grant, like one of his greatest missions in life now, is to just educate the children on this because later on when the T-Rex like kills Gallimimus, he's like sitting with the kids. He's like, I bet you never look at birds the same way again. Like,
yeah.
Dude, what's wrong with you? Like, it's like, like he hates that one kid in the beginning so much that he's like, I'm transferring this rage onto everybody. Like, you make fun of me on my own dig site. Which is funny because all those people are probably working for the guy, and he makes that suggestion. He's like, "Well, it's shaped like a bird." And they're all like, "A bird? What an idiot!" And it's like,
well, it's weird. That part is weird because is it a tour? Like, are they giving like tourists a tour of their dig site? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it like bring your weird kid to work day? Like,
yeah. It's like, oh,
it's very weird.
Which I know people have complained that like Hammond gets from the helicopter in that really close to that sequence to the trailer, like in no time. I've always thought of it as like he was on site and the helicopter was going to pick him up later because you see him for the first time. Speaking of,
to me, there's a clear time edit there. Like the helicopter's landing, Grant and Ellie and everyone, they run to cover up the bones with tarps so that the wind doesn't undo all their work. Cut to a few minutes later, like they saw him go into the trailer and like, cause he barges in like, hey, what's the big idea? Like into his own trailer. It's like, they know he's in there.
Yeah. That's
true. To me, that's a time jump.
Would he be sandier or maybe not so sandy as Dr. Grant?
He wouldn't be sandy at all. Cause if the helicopter turned off before he got out of it, I mean, the blades take a while to spin down, I guess, but...
Sure. I guess that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to talk about him because I forgot how much John Hammond is in this movie, which sounds kind of stupid, but he is a major... Like, I'm not going to say carries it, but he has so many scenes, so much dialogue, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it Richard Attenborough?
Yeah,
okay,
I think
not
so.
to be confused with David Attenborough, who does the Earth commentaries or whatnot. And those might be flipped. I'm sorry, people, if you're like, come on. No, it's Richard. I think
that's correct.
He does such a good job of being like the grandfather, but also kind of the tycoon, but he's not like overly pompous, and then kind of getting, and you say it's kind of that lull, that false sense of security scene with the ice cream and stuff, which makes sense. But I love that that's where you get the character motivation, where he sits there, he's like, I want to make something real. I had a flea circus when I was younger, and now, like, I wanted to make something that, like, you know, the world could see, everybody could experience, but it was real. It wasn't fake, you know? And I love that kind of, like, that's who he's become. Like, he's got a preserve in Africa. He's like, this is going to make that one look like nothing. You know, like, he's just trying to one-up himself always. But he's such a likable guy. Like, you kind of look at him and you're like, yeah, he gets that he screwed up, but he's still like, I want to make another one. Like, he's not like, I'm done, you know?
The nice thing with him is, like, take like Final Fantasy or something, where like or various other examples where the evil person is a corporate entity and they're just motivated by greed or whatever, to like a comic extent sometimes. This guy, from the word go, you get the sense that he's kind of just oblivious to the negative possibilities of his ideas. He's so excited about making something real that he never stops to think about, hey, what if this goes wrong? Like, we have a single point of failure for these fences, kind of like, yeah. And he even says like, next time we'll get it right, you know? And she's just like, what are you talking about? You don't respect the power of this place. And it's just like, she kind of puts him in his place there, because he doesn't realize, and I think he's in like a denial like about it, kind of.
Yeah, and there's nobody who's going to work for him who's going to say that, because they're all like, we're scientists who are making dinosaurs. I'm not going to try to jeopardize my job. I mean, like, they're basically all gods in a sense. They're like, I'm making whatever I want, you know.
Yeah. A recent show on Hulu called Devs.
Oh yeah.
Explores similar kind of ideas in a cool way. I
Okay.
recommend it. It was fun.
I've heard good things. Maybe from you.
Yeah. Alex Garland wrote and directed it.
Okay.
He made Ex Machina and Annihilation.
Oh, cool. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, you're talking about John.
Whoop.
Is there anything else we could say about John that that hasn't been said? You know, I don't know. He's really well done. I think he's just super well acted. And again, I forget how much he's in the movie, because like I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, he's in this movie. I'm like, no, he has like so much of like trying to run the park, kind of behind the scenes and all this stuff, and trying to tell everybody we've spared no expense, and kind of show him like the whole tour. Like he's kind of trying to Walt Disney it a little, but he's also kind of trying to be like, you know, grandpa and kind of cool and stuff too. And it's like,
well, and I like the line when he says, like, I will not be drawn into another financial debate with you. I will not, Dennis. Just gives you a little bit of history of like how their two characters are. It's like, okay, this guy's always talking about raises and stuff.
Yeah.
And this guy's kind of a penny pincher, you know, like Hammond. He always says spared no expense, but it's clear that that's not true.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Yeah.
Just pay one of your. Well, he's got more employees than 5, but in that control room, Nedry's like, do you know anywhere else where like a whole place like this could be run by like 3 people? He's like, because if you know somebody else who could do that job, I'm more than happy to like, I'm happy to take off. It's like, but I do love that exchange you're talking about too, because he says something. He's like, I don't ask people, to apologize or kind of make up for their mistakes. He's like, or he says, I don't expect people to apologize for their mistakes, but I do ask that they pay for them. Like, or something like that, where he kind of tells like Nedry, like, and I like that. It's almost like something that he is having a hard time, now that I think about it, grappling with himself, where he's kind of putting this on other people, but he's starting to learn, like, oh man, like, I've made a huge mistake. Like, I have to pay for this, like, it's good.
I think it's a little before that maybe, but when Ian Malcolm is like, do you think you'll ever have any dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour? And then he just goes, I really hate that, man.
I quote that a lot, and it's such a good one, because it's like it's just so, just like a good pure moment of him not trying to be like hey everybody, it's all good and this is cynical, but we're still gonna make it work. He's just just staring at that, just like, you're proving me right, and I hate you so much. Oh my gosh. My
favorite Hammond line is such a weird one, just his delivery when she's down to turn the power back on, and he's like, you'll see a little red button that says push to close. Push it. It's just this huge pause. Push it.
He has a lot of crazy deliveries, like, and I love, that's a great one too. Yeah, I love that. I love when he says there's a jet standing by to Chopper or something when he's back.
To Chatro, to Chur. I
something, and he
have
jumps.
No clue what he says.
He jumps
right
up on like the counter and says it. So he says it strained. So like you listen to it, and you're like, this is such a cool soundbite, but I have no idea what he's saying. Like I know that he's trying to say like we're going somewhere, and it's like he and man,
to
he's
Cairo maybe.
But would he go to Cairo? Because he doesn't have to. I don't know. I love that he's like, even when they're on the tour, he's like, this is the voice of like Richard Kiley or whatever. It's like some sort of like famous person or voice actor or whatever. And he's like, oh, this is like, we spared no expense to get him on the tour. All I'm thinking is nowadays, because as someone who wants to get into voice acting, like, so this guy probably signed his life away in an NDA. Like he's like, so I'm like reading these lines for like a dinosaur thing. And they're like, yeah, it's just like a fake dinosaur, like just talk about dinosaurs. And like, well,
yeah,
okay, man, like
sure.
like, didn't think about it later on. Just like on the news eventually he's like, oh, like, ooh. He's like, I had no association with that park. I had no idea what they were doing ever. Don't worry about it. Yeah,
a real weird continuity, or not continuity, but like reality break in this is that John Hammond has committed himself to being on every single one of those tours because he has lines with himself.
Yes.
Unless that's set up just for these like people to approve the park, which is probably hopefully more likely.
Yeah.
But like otherwise he's going to be in like 60 tours a day. He's never going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of seats in that little like theater too. So I was like, okay, so this is like, again, now that we're like kind of diving in, you'd be like, all right, you can start to pick it apart a little bit, but that's got to be like to get more backers for like people to like give money to it. But yeah, but I do like the thought of just John Hammond like, oh, here we go again, and they're making it like the revolving theater, like Carousel of Progress, and he just shows up and he's like, welcome everybody, my name is John Hammond and I'm actually the guy who created this whole park. And don't worry, I'm gonna be with you for the next 4.5 minutes, and he's like mouthing the words of Mr. DNA. He's just like, Dino DNA, like, my life, like I just hate it now.
Does, and he does say like, eventually there'll be music and bum 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 bum. So like, parts of that are for sure going to be consumer facing. So it's like, I mean, I guess they'd probably do like a. Did you ever see Terminator 4D at Universal Studios?
I've seen the videos of it.
Oh. It was good.
Okay.
But they would just hire someone who looks like him, probably.
Sure. Yeah. Well, also, I thought that, talking about the musical line, do you think John Williams composed that little weird piece of music they have in there, like, throughout the little video?
Oh,
or,
probably.
like, if he didn't, I wonder if they do that. They're like, don't piss off John. Like, they're like, don't just, like, we hired this guy to make this beautiful music, and then he's, like, watching the movie. He's like, why didn't I score this little? They're like, you don't need to do this, you've done enough. Like, they're like, oh, we're gonna change this anyway, so don't worry about it. But that whole Mr. DNA sequence is man, it always gets me. Mr. DNA, I always thought the part where he talks later on, he's like, you take the part of the code and you put it in the code,
complete the code.
Yeah.
He's like straining. I
always thought it was cold because it's like a blue screen, and I was like, why is the DNA cold? It's like, is that part of the process? Like, little young Jimmy was like, what's going on with this?
What do you mean?
What do you? Which I do love the premise, even though it doesn't make a ton of sense. It's like, okay, mosquitoes get caught in sap, you get the blood out of them. What are you gonna get?
Sure.
Who knows? You just make it up. It's totally fine. Let's see. We kind of covered most of the characters. I do want to save my favorite for last, but the lawyer. I love the turn that you get with the lawyer. You kind of get him in the beginning, which, by the way, the first 15 minutes of this movie moves at like such a rapid pace. There's so much information that's thrown at you. And I remember as a kid thinking like, I don't know what all this is, but I love the lawyer going to the dig site. And then he's just so like, he's like telling Hammond, he's like, you know what, man, this is not a fun thing for me. This is work. He's like, we got to make sure this is good, because if the investors I represent aren't happy, I'm going to shut you down. And then the second he sees the Brachiosaurus, he's like, we're going to make a fortune on this place. And then later on, he's talking about merchandising, which he's like, I'm happy to head the merchandising. I'm like, dude, they already took care of the merchandising. I was like,
he has this whole little arc, in like the first half hour of this movie.
Yeah.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's played really well, and I think I don't know if you could make it any better, because they try to do a good job of not making you sympathize for him, so that way when his demise comes up, you're like, that guy deserves it. Like, even though he's not a super bad guy, right?
The two best character moments for him are when Hammond says, the only one on my side is the blood-sucking lawyer, and he says, thank you.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
So good.
And of course, when he says, are these erotica?
Yeah, it's so good. That is so funny. And then they even say the word animatronic, because for some odd reason, I think of like Universal never touching anything Disney related. And they even mention Disneyland in this movie, which John does screw up. He does say 1956, Disneyland opened 1955. It's tough times. He doesn't necessarily know when Disneyland opened. And then Jeff Goldblum or Ian Malcolm starts talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, which didn't open for a long time, like 1960 something, something like that. So again, still a funny little line, but I love that they do talk about the animatronics. Like, are these animatronics? He's like, I wanted him to be like, no, man, they're real people. Like, he's like, did you clone like humans? Like,
how good do you think these animatronics are?
That's where all the money went, right there. Let's see. I think that's. Oh, Ellie Sattler. Do you want to talk about her for a second? She's pretty great.
She's great. The part as a kid that I was always like, why are you talking to yourself, is when she goes, run.
Yes.
That part is always weird to me.
Yeah, I guess she's been through so much, maybe.
But yeah, I mean, I think she's great. I don't know what you say. She's cool.
She's really straightforward. I think that most of her is like kind of just like forcing the kids in this situation onto Grant to just be like, oh, what's he gonna do? Like my pseudo boyfriend who doesn't want kids and I want kids, and it's like, I'm just gonna keep forcing him with the kids. You know, like early on, she's like, what are you gonna do? Like, I told Lex that it'd be good for you if you guys hung out together, and he's just like, you gotta be killed. It's like, I think that's pretty funny. But then later on, she even has a moment, and it seems a little. I don't know if it's his character to do it because it comes in like a time of crisis, but Hammond he's like, maybe I should be the one to go, get the generators back online. He's like, because, you're and I was like, that little, like, maybe he's like old school, like, sexist kind of thing. Like, it seems kind of weird to have in this moment.
She collapsed back too. She was like, we could talk about sexism in crisis situations when I get back. Like,
yeah, it's like, it's fine. I guess it's just there to show that he's like, I don't know.
I buy that he would be a little
old-fashioned.
A little old-fashioned in that, like a sexist kind of businessman.
Yeah.
I buy it.
Yeah, maybe that's just like his real nature coming out just a little bit when most of the time he's just like, everybody's included, everyone's great, because like, that if he wanted to include everyone to come to that island one day, he'd have to charge something. You know what I mean? Like he's like, everyone should see these animals. They'd be like, hey, John, the returns aren't coming. He'd be like, probably have to crank up the prices a little bit there. Like,
for sure.
Cheeseburgers are now $70. You're like, I understand. Our special chef. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about Alan Grant. Obviously, kind of one of the focal points of the film. I love him. Before I get into him, how do you feel about Alan?
Oh, he's great. I like Sam Neill a lot, and I mean, he's the perfect kind of gruff. Because everyone in this movie is a bit of an archetype, right? And he's sort of the gruff kind of guy, but you can tell immediately that he's good underneath it all, and like the movie shows you that in nice ways. And I think he plays that character really well, and with a lot of little nuances that maybe go underappreciated. Like in a Roland Emmerich film, he would just be writ large and just kind of one note. But in this, he's a little more of a human being, which is nice.
Yeah, well, and there's even, like, you said it really well, there's, like, little moments that kind of endear you more to him. Like, they're walking towards the Triceratops, Lex kind of stumbles, and he helps her. He's like, are you okay? And she like, kind of looks at him, grabs his hand, and won't let him go. And he's like, well, what's going on? And he's like, please. Or he's, like, sitting in the tree, and the kids kind of cozy up to him, and he's like, I don't know what to do here. Like, he's like learning how to interact with kids, even though at the very beginning, just that kind of statement of like, I don't like, it's not really something I'm interested in. You saw that kid. And she's like, I don't want that kid.
Not that particular brand, but a brand of child could be interesting, Dr. Gray. But that scene in the tree where he throws his lucky velociraptor claw, it's just such a nice moment of him like giving up on the past sort of, and it's not over explained, it doesn't, like, Spielberg shows a lot of restraint in a weird way sometimes where, he could have really hit you on the head with it, but it's just we'll just show him throwing the thing. It's fine.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. It's good. There's a lot of restraint in this movie, and it's nice because I think in less talented hands, that wouldn't have been the case, and some of these people would have probably been a lot more shouty. But there's a lot of...
We've seen countless examples.
Yeah, there's a lot more nuance here in the performances, which is really nice. And we kind of talk about this, and I don't know if it's totally true, but they say like they wanted to hire a bunch of people that nobody knew, so that way you can kind of get more invested in them and kind of see this place through their eyes, as opposed to being like, hey, that's a famous actor that I know super well. Not that Sam Neill isn't well known, but back in the 93, it wasn't as well known as he is now today. I think that's smart. I wish more movies would do that, because honestly, sometimes, and I get that they're a draw, but sometimes it's so distracting to see like somebody super famous in a movie and they're like, they're just a regular person, and you're like, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. Like,
well, it's really weird too in franchise movies when like some megastar has like a 3-second role.
Sure.
And you're like, okay, you're setting something up for the next movie? Like, what are you doing here? Like,
yeah.
What's this?
Yep, see, that's the problem, though. That's what the T-Rex got so big for her britches, and she's like, I will only stay around if you make, like, 6 movies. And they're like, all right, eventually we'll do it. She's like, but don't kill my character off. I don't have to be in all of them, but I want to be kind of a focal point later on.
Yeah, I always have to have a hero moment. Like,
yep. Yeah, and then one of the Raptors saw it, and they're like, hey, equal representation. I want hero moments, maybe more hero moments than the actual heroes. I want to basically be unstoppable, which I think that's what they should do.
With Blue, it kind of does feel like the Velociraptor. Like somebody was like, we've been giving Velociraptors a bad rap. Let's make them come to the rescue for once. And it's just like, I guess, like, sure.
Blue's a hero. It's okay. I met her in person. So I talked to her. It's part of her contract. She said that those scenes were edited in. She didn't mean to kill those guards and have an explosion where she jumped from it, but it just happened that way. And she was excited about it. And she was like, this looks really nice. Helps out the resume a little. We're ridiculous. I love it. But anyway, Grant's my favorite, just because, I don't know, I think he's really cool. He does change throughout this experience, but he still retains a lot of who he is. And I love how he's more level-headed, I feel like, than almost anybody else. Like, even in that kind of weird projection room dinner that they have, he kind of is like, well, I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but this might be kind of a problem. And I love, too, that maybe this is the first time I'm kind of understanding his, like, theory into hypothesis into fact with the Velociraptors, where it's like, all right, I know a lot about Velociraptors and how they work. And then when he's holding the baby one, he's like, you bred raptors? And like that kind of like that inevitable meeting between the two of like him actually seeing real Velociraptors, I love the build up to that. I think it's so
and
well
just
done.
And also like he has this reverence and this awe for raptors, but he also is like, I think them more than any of these dinosaurs, he's like, these ones maybe should have stayed extinct because they're killing machines. Like they're
yeah, for sure. Which I know some people would kind of point out. We're talking about the flaws earlier, but it's like a regular Velociraptor, more like maybe 2 to 3 feet tall.
Right.
It's like a
kind of a hybrid.
8 eggs. This one would be more similar to what they call as a Utah Raptor, which is about 5 or 6 feet tall. A little more like Deinonychus. So these things weren't completely off, but the problem was they were kind of figuring out stuff about the Utah Raptor around this time. Bender loves the Raptors. He's like, is he okay?
Omar must have gone to his car.
Oh.
Anytime anybody leaves, Bender freaks out.
Aw.
Especially now, everyone's home all the time. He's not used to us leaving.
Oh, sure. I get you. Oh, he's a sweet boy. What I was saying, though, is like with the Utah Raptor thing, is they kind of found out that information while they were making this movie, I think. But they're like, Velociraptor still sounds way cooler. So we're just going to we're going to keep going with that. And, Michael Crichton, this is just what we're doing, okay? Which is funny, too, because I, again, realized recently Michael Crichton, not only Jurassic Park, but Westworld, that guy does not have a lot of faith in theme parks, man. Like, or he's got a crazy idea for theme parks. He's like, but this is going to go wrong. Like, it's like... Oh.
It's sort of his bread and butter is just like...
he's like, it's all going to
start a thing, and then it starts killing people.
Yeah, but I know there's some deviations. I've never actually read the book, so I can't attest to it. But I really love this movie. We didn't talk about Muldoon too much. I think Muldoon's great, even though I heard that actor kind of hated. Like, it's always sad to hear like when they hate maybe the movies they were in. I think he's passed away since, but I don't know if he I thought he was great, and they kind of bring back his archetype in the Lost World. They're like British hunter guy. Everybody loves British hunter
Except
guy,
he's
right?
bad now.
Yeah, but then maybe sometimes he's kind of good when the script calls for it. But I really like Muldoon, and I like that there's that moment when he's sitting at the Velociraptor kind of pen or paddock with Grant, and like Ellie and Hammond are starting to have a conversation because Hammond's kind of directing the conversation, but they kind of almost mute that conversation for Grant talking to him, and Grant's like, so like, wait, man, tell me like what's the speed on these things? Like, and he's just like going on and on about like how dangerous he's like they're lethal at like 8 months or whatever, and he's like, and I mean lethal, and you're like, why did we make these things? He's just like there to almost make sure they all die, like because he's seen firsthand what happens when they get out, or even kind of get out, but yeah, I love Muldoon. I think you're a Muldoon fan too, right?
Oh yeah, he's great. I mean, Clever Girl is like,
Clever Girl,
maybe the most iconic line.
Yeah,
one of them.
If only he would have just been using that. See, nowadays this type of movie would be harder for people to buy because he has a shotgun, and like he would have shot that a few times nowadays, probably, because back in the day it was so much more restrained. Like he was not going to shoot that thing unless he had to, but now it would have been like, I see her, boom, that's not her, boom boom. It would have just been reloading. It would have been,
that was a kid.
That would have, that was a kid. Oh man. But yeah, I was trying to think of what else we could, like, Muldoon obviously is like raptors, and I was kind of just getting towards the kitchen sequence, which is such a great sequence too. Is that, I don't know if it's my favorite sequence. I think the T-Rex attack is my favorite one, but that kitchen sequence, man, that sticks with you, like intimate horror.
Yeah, it definitely does. And this is something that Spielberg is so good at, is in this movie especially, is kind of just weaving these different feels and tones together. Because you said horror, like that, it's a horror scene. Yeah. Suddenly, in this movie. That I would not call this movie a horror movie, but that scene specifically is just got such a cool kind of alien-esque vibe to it. The Lex reflection shot is still like so weird but cool. Yeah.
I love her running through, arms outstretched to shut that door. So good. Like, oh man. And I love how they both narrowly escaped that, because they probably would have died. Like, well,
it feels believable, and it feels like they think like kids. They solve that problem like kids would solve it, kind of. Yeah. Like they don't think their actions through. Like Tim, when he bangs the ladle on the ground, is like, he's not thinking what that's going to mean for him. Yeah. He's just like, God, gotta get it away from Lex, Yeah. Yep. So yeah. He's like, and then it dawns on him. He's just like, oh wait,
this is a problem. See, you got to be like Mary from Fellowship of the Ring. You got to grab like a bag and throw it somewhere else, and that way the ring wraith runs for it. It's the raptor. You got to be like, I do think it's ladle. The ladle. I think it's funny how we did talk about it earlier. The whole kind of the perceived notion of what things can do and what things can't do. So like Velociraptors opening doors is kind of like a joke, and then it happens. But then like the T-Rex not being able to see unless you move, that's just common knowledge. Right. I was like, I love how that's just something he just says, and you're like, wait, what? Like, you're like, that's a thing.
That's classic, like, Spielberg doing like hyper realistic things for story reasons. Yeah. And it's like, that's a thing that's like, obviously not true, because why would that be true? Yeah. But in the reality of this movie, you're entirely ready to accept it just because Grant says it with conviction and it makes sense for the story and leads to some cool stuff, Yeah. So it's like, yeah, all right. Like, because if they didn't give it some weakness, there's no way they're,
it'd be unstoppable.
In the situation that they were in, they would just die.
Yeah, and that's why it's great early on, because they do talk about, like, I love that Hammond goes around this, but Grant's like, so he's talking about the Brachiosaurus. He's like, how fast is it? And he's like, well, we've clocked the T-Rex at 32 miles per hour. You're like, hey, man, first off, I asked a question about the Brachiosaurus. Second off, how do you know how fast this thing goes? And then, like, when it's in the Jeep sequence, you're like, all right, 30, that's pretty quick, obviously. But it comes back and you're like, oh, okay, so I know that this thing isn't like a raptor moving at like 60 that's just gonna catch this Jeep and murder these people. It's gonna be like, hey man, I'm catching up, like, it's hungry.
I like that the T-Rex in that scene kind of just like gives up
Yeah, and just like
when it
whatever.
realizes the Jeep is too fast. It's just like and just walks off.
He's like, I'll go
Just like,
eat
all right,
something else now.
go
Which
eat something else.
I would believe the T-Rex could do that. Those raptors, though, they're chunky. Like I guess they don't always get meals, but I was like, some of them, they've gotten a meal today, and they're like a full human, and they're like, I could go for more. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm just in for killing now. I just want to start killing.
They're like the lions from Savo and the Ghost in the Darkness.
Oh, yeah, there
They
you
just
go.
kill for fun.
They're killing for fun. It's just like that Indominus Rex.
Yeah. Bad news.
There's only time that they use an actual. Sorry, that's Jurassic World stuff. We'll talk about it another day. I just want more. If you got the money, and I know it costs so much, but just more real animals or props and stuff in your movies. It's just so good.
Don loves Jurassic World. If you can get Don, he's cagey with being on podcasts.
Okay.
So I doubt you can get him, but he would talk about Jurassic World.
Okay, that's all right. Well, that's challenge accepted. No, it's okay. I hate to bring people out of their comfort zone.
I'll ask him for you.
Oh, thank you. Is there anything else? Like, I wrote down a few kind of closing notes here, but is there anything else like Jurassic Park related that like you just wanted to kind of speak your piece about for good or ill?
Have you listened to the Jurassic Park theme slowed down 800% or whatever on YouTube?
I have not.
It's like 53 minutes long, and it's phenomenal.
Really?
Yeah, they just threw it into Paul's Stretch or whatever, and it sounds really cool.
Dang. Even John Williams, his music transcends time.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's great for just putting on and like listening to.
Dang. Oh my gosh. And for some odd reason I hum like a little. There's like a version of that song, and I think it's in this one too, where it's kind of more, it's like fun and upbeat. And I remember using to like hum that a lot when I like would be like walking in a city or like walking in university or something. It was just like, this is like the music that should be playing in my movie right now. That's my life.
Yeah.
I'm like this, man, it's so good. There's not a lot in this movie again that I would change. And like I said, I wrote down a few notes because I'm professional, Ian. I'm the most professional.
Oh yeah, it's good to be prepared.
Thank you. And I've been trying to do this more. Showing restraint, showing off dinosaurs, which again, throughout kind of the whole movie, which maybe they do a little too much of, but at the same time, I think it does build up in a cool way. Man, that first 15 minutes, though, I paused it just to look. There's just so much. And by that, I mean, you get the raptor attack, you get the lawyer going to visit the dig site, and then you go to see, I think, Grant at his dig site. And there's, like, a lot of information that they throw in there kind of quietly that they don't really talk about. And you're like, like, the dig site manager knows Grant, I guess. He's like, oh, Grant's like me. He's a digger. And you're like,
yeah.
Okay.
They're like well known.
Yeah.
It's great exposition, like good setup. It's like Die Hard levels of quality first act where it just like seeds pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And then pays it all off. It's masterful. It's well done. And
Hammond's daughter is going through a divorce, which is the thing they brought back in Jurassic World, I guess, because they're like, oh, Hammond's daughter is going through a divorce, so these parents need to go through a divorce, which I thought was interesting.
I don't remember that.
It's a whole thing. One thing we didn't really talk about too much, and I love this in a Jurassic film, and they still do it in other ones, but not to the same extent, I don't think, but non-dinosaur threats. I'm talking your Jeeps, your explorers falling to hit you, or explorers falling out of trees, or explorers falling out of the sky. No, or like the electric fence, or just things like that, where it's like, it's not necessarily the dinosaurs that are going to kill you necessarily. But I just love that. I think that's such a cool aspect to this. Like, it's not like just because you don't see this threat that other things can't hurt you in this world. Like, it's totally safe, because it's not. It's a really scary place to be in.
That's a mainstay of this kind of genre of film too. But like, Alien does this incredibly well too, where it's just you got to solve problems from minute to minute. And this film is great at that, where it's, well, we got to get over this fence. Like, oh, Tim's up in the car and stuck in a tree. The power's out. It does a great job of believable obstacles and believable reasons to get people into situations. And then also there are dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I think it's really the setups are great in this.
Yeah. The biggest question is, at what point do they turn around on that tour to come back so they face the T-Rex paddock in a different way? I'm just kidding. I mean, it's like, obviously they're still working out the kinks at Jurassic Park, because you're going to have some run-ins there if you got some cars going one way, like from seeing it the first time, because they have to come back and probably run into each other, you know?
I wonder if they... In theory, maybe they have like turnabouts for like emergencies or something.
Maybe,
so like
right.
maybe because of the weather, they were like, just turn them around after the Triceratops
paddock.
paddock.
That's true. I want those Ford Explorers to be a thing in more like theme park rides. Like I love the idea of like having like the big clear like windows everywhere.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was like, that's such a it's so cool. Like obviously you don't really need them in rides because you're like, well, just do like a Jeep thing. Like you got like your kind of Countdown or Indiana Jones Jeep. But like I just love that idea. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. It's just, how angry would you be if you paid $2,000 or $10,000 to come out to this island and the first 3 or 4 things were like, well, they weren't by the fences and we won't be stopping. And you're like, what? No, go back. Like, we're moving on.
Well,
Hey.
it's clear that they have goats and stuff ready to try to draw the animals toward the fence. But yeah, it's funny because it opened later than this movie, I do believe, but Animal Kingdom at Disney World.
98.
98, I was going to say, yeah, I was close to, but not in the same. But Animal Kingdom does such an amazing job at, I mean, it's like they've got patents and stuff, I think, but like invisible barriers and like hidden enclosures that you don't notice as much. And like the animals are almost always in the same area on the safari tour, and you see them really well. And it's like real world park design knowledge, you know, would have had to have been implemented in Jurassic Park a little more.
Yes.
And if they really spared no expense and didn't just throw fences up around some fields like they did in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And yeah, they geographically, they probably wouldn't. The T-Rex thing, they would have been like, all right, well, we probably shouldn't fence it in right next to this cliff, because one day, what if it's walking and it just falls off the cliff, and you're like, we found the T-Rex and it's crushed itself.
Dead. Yeah.
Like, we spared no expense. That cost a lot of money, which is great, because like in the beginning, that's like the reason they aren't shooting the raptor, because it costs a lot of money, and then Muldoon's just like, shoot her, and like, I don't know if they actually did. Isn't that the same bad one? Like the main bad.
Because they're loading it into that feeding pen, presumably, or is it into a boat?
No, it's into that same pen, and he says at one point when that one showed up, it killed everybody off except for the like 2 others.
2 of the other ones, yeah, killed all but 2 of the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
They remember.
They do remember. They're checking out the defenses. I love it.
Systematically checking the defense.
Yeah, that's just what you're doing when you're bored. You're telling your lackeys, you're like, touch the fence. And they're like, oh, fine. Like, oh my God, the face every time. And they're like, we'll check it in like 2 weeks, but not for a bit, because the people are watching. The guy with the weird hat, he's watching us all the time, and I'm pretty sure he wants any excuse to kill us. I do love that shot where it kind of pans in front or behind kind of that the raptor enclosure when the electricity is off, and like the bars are all like splintered open, and Muldoon's just there, and you could just tell like it's been months of working with these things, and it's just like, oh no, like it's just like
the look on his face, he's just like, oh dang it.
He's like,
here we go.
I told him, he's like, I've told people for months how lethal these things are. I've been watching them to make sure they don't get out, and it's like, and here we go.
My favorite aspect of Muldoon is his just immediate acceptance of death.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, he knows, I think he knows from like the second things go wrong. Like when Hammond says, would you be so kind as to go take a gas jeep and pick up my grandchildren? And Muldoon just goes, sure. Like, he knows he's going to die, I feel like.
Yeah,
and he's
that's
like,
true.
This isn't going to go well.
Yeah. Do you think Muldoon would be the type of guy to know about the ambush attack? Or like that's something that like Grant knows?
Because Grant sets that up so we know about it. But Muldoon, he's a hunter. But I think that's why, I think he's actually legitimately impressed. Like, I think that's why he says clever girl. Because he's just like, you got me. Like, he's acknowledging being bested by a worthy opponent, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a cool moment.
I do like when he kind of unfolds the stock and everything, which is kind of unnecessary. But there's like this whole kind of like, all right, like, I'm going to get her. Like, man. It's so good. You don't really see, like, that's the only time you see a gun get shot in that movie that actually goes off, because in the other one, like, you see, like, Grant shoots, like, 3 times at the window, I guess, and doesn't hit anything, but you just hear it through the phone.
Yeah.
Which, again, some great Richard Attenborough acting right there, because he finally, like, yeah, like that, you're like, you feel it. Yeah, man, gosh, it's just superbly cast. I don't know if I'd change any of these people. Like, even Nedry, like we talked about, kind of being a cartoon and doing the he didn't say the magic word. Like, that's, like, his character.
Please.
And not, like, a toned-down Samuel L. Jackson, which is kind of cool. Like, you don't see that super often, but him just being like, yep, like, I need Nedry if we want to get this back up and running. Like, oh, okay. He's not, like, screaming and the hold on to your butts thing, which is just kind of his shtick. Smoking inside. I mean, the 90s, am I right?
Crazy times.
Early 2000s. Eventually, they're still doing that. But, yeah, last thing I'll say about this for me that I love aesthetically, I love the jungle meets, like, the concrete steel and all that. There's such a look to Jurassic Park. That is just so cool. I don't know how you feel about that, like the iconic imagery of, like, the actual logo and stuff that's on everything.
I love it.
Like, it's like, it's so good.
Well, and you mentioned before about the merchandising, like the shot in the gift shop when he's talking about, like, and like talking about how the business has failed, you know, it's just so well done, because it's, you know, it mirrors the real world in a fun way, where you're like, oh, I want that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you're like, I could buy that. You're like, that seems pretty cool. I think I owned a few of those things. I still wish Universal would have just made a whole park dedicated to Jurassic Park, because just, like, a few attractions doesn't feel like enough to get the concept down. Like, I just want, like, 5 or 6 or 7 things based on it. Like,
they have at Studios Florida, there's, like, a more of an area.
Yes, there is. The only problem I have with that is that I could see Hogwarts.
It's just like a walkthrough part.
It's not a lot. Yeah, it's still cool.
There's a restaurant and a couple of rides.
They have a Discovery Center there, which I did get to see, which is almost perfect. Like, it looks very similar. Yeah, you can go off to, like, the right closer to the lake, and it's in there. Oh man, you walk in there, you're like, this should be the center. Like, you should walk up through it though. That's the problem. You have to kind of go the opposite way, but I've been there many times. I've actually never gone up in there.
Oh,
dude, you should do it, or I could. Well, I don't want to send you a video because you want to probably see it yourself. But I went in there a few years back, so I was like, all right, this might be my only time to be here. So I was like, at night, I was like, can I walk in? Like, okay, this is pretty cool. I was like, yeah, they do some good stuff. I just want more. All right, Jurassic Park is such a cool concept. Put me in the Explorer. Put me in the Jeep.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jurassic Park. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's a perfect film, but I love it, and it is definitely one of my favorites, and it still holds up over 25 years later. For me, I love it still.
I think it just does regardless. That's a good movie right there.
That's one of those good ones.
I agree.
Yeah, it inspires me, like Lord of the Rings, and it like makes me want to go make movies, because like this movie has like so much movie I call magic. Just like, I don't know what it is, but it feels like it's all just like it's firing on all cylinders, and you're like, yep, this is pretty amazing. That's why there weren't other big dinosaur movies besides like Godzilla '98 that tried to do similar things, because it was like, we're just not gonna. It's not gonna be the same as that. It's like Spielberg's like, there we go.
Yep.
He's like, I'm on other things.
Like,
he's like, and now it's World War II for a while, and you're like, oh gosh. It's like, oh goodness. Well, let's start to like wind down the show here. Let's move into the next segment of things we've been killing time with, or as I like to call, time killers. What have you been killing time with, buddy? Like movies, games, music, whatever.
Well, I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. I've been trying to get through Final Fantasy VII Remake. Almost there.
Nice.
I breezed through RE3 in 2 sittings, I think.
I've heard remake. That's quick.
It's great. Watched devs.
Did the length, by the way, not bother you for Resident Evil 3? Were you cool with that?
I was fine with it.
Okay.
Like, I knew that it was short.
Sure.
You know, and like my perception of 3, like I played it when it came out, but my memory of it wasn't very good. But my perception of 3 is always like, it's the less good, more action-y 2.
Sure.
And that's what this is. So it was right in line with my expectations. I love Jill. She's super cool. And it makes sense that she's like super capable because she's a STARS member, not a rookie or not a fighter. So like Leon and Claire, you know. So it makes sense that she's more actiony because she's experienced at this a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I feel like there's something else. I subscribed to the Criterion channel,
And?
and I watched the original Murder on the Orient Express,
Oh, really?
and I watched With Nail and I last night. Hadn't seen that since college.
Huh.
Definitely a lot of stuff in that movie I didn't remember, but some funny moments. Yeah. I don't know, just taking it easy. Quarantine, I'm like weirdly okay with quarantine.
Sure.
I just get to play video games and watch stuff and mess around with synths, and it's like that's what I want to be doing anyway. So
Cool. Good. I love it. The positive
Yeah.
in a negative time. You know.
Save the world by doing what I want to do anyway.
Exactly.
Deal.
That's great. That's great. Cool. Yeah, for me, not too much super crazy like Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's what I've been playing, so I'm trying to get done with that as well. I actually picked up Borderlands 3, and I've been playing with a buddy, Leo, and it's been fun. I will say this, and again, voice acting, love it, and stuff like that. I did turn it down a little because it is constant, and I'm sure it was super fun to record. It's just, man, some of that stuff is like, whoo, like the biggest enemy you have in that game is just like someone yelling at you almost always, and you're like, and it's not even like pertinent information. It's just, man, it's just wow.
My roommate Omar was playing that for a little while when it came out, and like I guess it was before I heard they actually patched this because it was so annoying. But not only were the characters constantly screaming, but he used like caustic weaponry, and enemies were constantly screaming in like total pain.
Yes, I've heard that too. I think they've changed that, I hope.
Yeah, and he was playing it on speakers, and I was just like, dude, this is insane. Like,
it's like
I've played a lot of video games, but God, that's like constant, just gut wrenching screaming.
Yeah. Which
I was like, what is happening over here, man?
Yeah, so I tweaked that, but you're right.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest thing with that, but unfortunately, again, like I'm not saying that the performances are bad. I just there's so much, just unnecessarily too much, maybe like where it's like, okay, you give me, instead of saying, hey, and somebody, I think Missile Mage put it really well a while ago, a fan of both of ours, he said like, in Borderlands, someone might, like, in a normal game, someone would say, go from point A to point B. But in Borderlands, it'd be like, hey, bro, like, I need you to pick up that thing I just dropped for you over there, that special item, the one. And yeah, you pick that up, and you point it at the bad guys, and you're going to want to shoot them. And on your way to get to this thing, you want to shoot all the other bad. And, like, it goes on like that for, like, 5 minutes before it's like, just go to that. Like, it's like, please stop. But the gunplay...
Definitely, that's part of, I think, its brand of humor is...
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Verbose writing.
Yeah, but yeah, the shooting feels really good. I like the class I'm playing as Mose, which is like this, basically like a Titanfall pilot, because you just kind of run around with her really fast, and you jump into a mech suit when things get bad. And I actually picked up the rip-off of it's like a sawed-off double-barrel shotgun that shoots in a pentagram and plays a guitar riff, so it's a Doom shotgun. And my buddy who I was playing with this, he's like, dude, I don't know he's like, I watch you, and he's like, I see people just flying or just turning into clouds of like misted blood or whatever. I'm just like, or I'm like, boom, boom, like boom, like that. It's just like, it's very cathartic. And it's been a little change of pace because I have been playing Divinity Original Sin 2 with him, and we are close to beating it.
Wow.
And it's like, that game, it just threw another huge town at us, and I'm like, how much of this game is there? Like, I feel like even the developers, when I played this back at PAX 2017, they had a survey afterwards, and they were like, how many people, like, did you play the first one? Yes. Did you ever get out of the first town? And I was like, no. And I think a lot of people didn't. And I was just like, how much of this game is there? Like, it's such a good game, but it requires a lot. You really got to put time into it.
I don't think I ever got out of like that first area in that, well, not after the boat, obviously, but like that jail.
Fort Joy.
Island.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fort Joy.
And I was trying to like rush through it, which is not the right thing to do, because then I did get out of the little fort and got just destroyed by a little enemy, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, they want you to take your time with that one.
I'm not doing this right.
Yeah, which is funny because like Baldur's Gate 3, they're working on it, just coming out, and I'm interested to see a lot of people. Some people voice concerns about it being very stringent on D&D rules. I'm sure it'll be good because I think Larian Studio is wonderful, but I'd also love to see, and I can't wait to see, what Divinity Original Sin 3 is. However, I could wait like 5 more years because I imagine that game, Divinity Original Sin 3, whenever it comes out, if they make it, will be like 100-hour minimum playtime. Just be like, here you go, and it's like,
huge.
It's a great game though. I love it. But yeah, Borderlands 3 has been fun. So we kind of killing time with that, and some Final Fantasy 8. We've been playing through that. And that's a crazy nutso game that you can totally break if you have someone who knows what they're doing. And that's not me. But thankfully, the chat knows. Again, Miss Lynch, he's like he knows it so well. So thank you.
I remember liking 8 when I was a kid. I have it on my Switch, but I haven't jumped back into it.
Oh, really? Okay.
So,
I didn't know it was on Switch. There you go.
Yeah, they put the remaster or whatever on the Switch.
Finally, because I know for a while they announced like they're like Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 10. It was like, hey, wait a second, you didn't say anything about 8.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't talk about 8. Like, like they don't. I feel like 8's like kind of the weird Final Fantasy stepchild.
I always forget the details of this, but I believe they lost a lot of the source code or something, the backgrounds or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard too. But they've got it back now, it seems like, to some degree.
I guess.
Which is great. And I'm waiting for Final Fantasy VIII Remake. I'm just kidding. You'll be waiting waiting a long time for that.
Yeah.
Well, let's move into the last segment of the show, my personal favorite segment, which is community feedback and questions. Now, Ian, I told people you were going to be on, and this is one of my favorite things. I loved getting this on Twitter from Tokyo Slim. He says, you spared no expense.
True.
It's true. And you know how much Ian costs to get on the show? More than all the other allies combined. It's ridiculous. Oh my gosh. I have to pay him like 1 million werehogs. It's so much. Oh my gosh. It's gosh darn ridiculous.
It's a good thing we use a fictional currency. Otherwise, you'd be in trouble.
That's true. Well, is it all currency kind of fictional, right? That doesn't work here, and it doesn't work at the bank either, by the way. I've tried that like for loans. I'm like, isn't it all just digital? Just like some zeros and some ones, That's not how money works. Don't listen to me. But anyway, we did get some questions in for you from our Discord.
Cool.
People were really excited about this. First one comes in from Fragadim. He says, "Hey Ian, with the rumors about a Silent Hill reboot in the works, do you have any deep desires for where you'd like to see the franchise go, if or when it comes out?"
Yeah. Well, reboot's the key word, right? So that means they're kind of going back to the drawing board. And it's funny, the case of Silent Hill is interesting because Silent Hill 1 and 3 have a continuity, and then Shattered Memories is kind of a retelling sort of 1. And then Silent Hill 2, there are a lot of things that link them together, but Silent Hill 2 isn't like a direct sequel to 1 in a lot of senses. Like there are obviously a lot of things that carry over, but weirdly, one of the more direct threads is to 4 from 2 because that's the name of the killer in 4 is mentioned in 2.
Gotcha.
But it's weird. A reboot would almost have to. I assume it'll have to do with a daughter.
Okay.
Unless you get to play as the daughter, like that might be a cool way to flip it. Like, or you choose. Oh, that would be cool. If they're doing a retelling of 1, except maybe you make her like a teenager.
Okay.
And you get separated at the front and you do a classic like Resident Evil 2 storylines kind of a thing. That could be fun.
Okay.
I, for one, hope that it's just because I think first person, like PT is just too dang scary. Like, I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah.
If it's a first person, like PT style game. So I kind of hope it's third person. Just so I can do it.
Did you play RE7?
Like half, or not even half, probably like a quarter of it. I got to the boss fight with the guy who had the big scissors.
Okay.
I guess I didn't even get into like all the crazy stuff. I rebought it on PC actually to try to give it another go. Because I love Resident Evil. And that's like the only one besides 5 and 6 that I haven't finished.
Okay.
And I mean, of the main lines plus Revelations 2, I should say. Like, I did never play Umbrella Chronicles or whatever.
Okay, sure.
Or Revelations 1 even. But yeah, Silent Hill, the way to get it right is to, you know, pick your metaphors and extrapolate from there. You have to be subtle to us, you know, like I feel like especially the Western Silent Hills, they were just like, remember Pyramid Head and the sexy nurses? Wee doggies.
Yeah.
It's like, well, those were there for a reason in 2, guys. Like,
Yeah.
What's your reason here? Just because they're in the town? Like, no, the town manifests in different ways. Whatever. I could talk about Silent Hill for a while, but I just hope it's good. Yeah. To answer the question, all I want is for it to be good.
Yes, objectively good.
Yeah.
Like not even like just good for you. You just want good in general. Just like
like if it gets
undeniable.
If it gets like 8.5s, 9s, I think we can call it a win.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, middle of the road will still be better than half of Silent Hill probably, but
sure.
All things told, but yeah.
Cool.
I just hope it's good.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for. That's how I feel about when they remake Pokemon Snap. But I
hope it exists and I hope it's good.
Exactly. That's the big thing right now. It's like I hope. Hey, if enough people, video games have taught us this. If enough people want something badly enough and for long enough,
and one of those people is Michael Huber, then it'll happen.
I just feel that definitely helps.
He needs his magic.
We need, and it's good because I think he's in your camp on this one. He's not actively against it. All right, so that's a good thing. He's
not be okay with it.
Yeah. This one comes in. Miss might send in a few, but I have to limit it to this one. You'll really like this one. We've had a lot of very good original soundtracks this video generation, but I want to know, what is your single favorite track that's been in a video game this generation? I think my personal favorites are either Life Will Change, Persona 5, or Weight of the World from Nier Automata.
The first one that comes to mind is from Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, which I think is PS4 generation.
Oh.
Now that right?
Yeah,
it's not PS3.
I think so. Yeah.
But Forever. It's a really good. I like Jessica Curry a lot.
Cool.
That entire soundtrack is just, and Dear Esther, both just my favorites, probably ever in video games.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Cool.
That.
Good pick. I feel like I couldn't talk about Silent Hill. I can talk about this a little bit. Life Will Change is really good. Persona 5. Most anything Persona 5 is really good. Deliverance, and I keep talking about this one, from God of War. It's so good. It's like 6.5 minutes long. Go check it out. It's incredibly good. I really like
God of War soundtrack is great.
God of War soundtrack is very good. There's not much in that.
Bear McCreary?
Bear McCreary, yeah. He's wonderful. Also, I really like what Ramin Djawadi did with the Gears franchise. So check out Gears 4. It's weird because when you research the behind-the-scenes music on that, he talks about how he based most of the music off of a 4-note kind of like grouping that he tried to put in a lot of the songs, because he changed up the original Gears kind of theme song a bit. It's just really fascinating. You're like, you took 4 notes and you like built stuff around that. It's like, oh, that's really cool. So those are some of my favorites. And obviously, by the way, Final Fantasy VII, some of that, and Those Who Fight, that song is just, ooh, baby.
It's good stuff. There's good stuff in there.
Some good stuff in 15 too. I'll Stay Veiled in Black is still really, go check it out. It's good.
Shout out to BB's theme. I really actually quite liked. And, of course, the soundtrack from Outer Wilds.
Nice. What's
really
BB's
good.
theme from?
BB's theme from Death Stranding.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's good stuff.
Nice. Cool. That's good. Look at these. We have so many. See, go listen to these guys. They're all bangers. Go listen to all that great music from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I know so many people.
Oh my god, Cass's theme, that's the winner.
There's some good stuff in that game. A lot of people are like, there isn't enough music. Go listen to it. It's there. It's good.
Yeah, anytime Cass or Koss or whatever shows up, that's the stuff.
This one comes in from Bearded Scotsman 86. Otherwise, we're just talking about music all night. Hi, Ian. You work on Easy Update every week. Oh, you do, huh?
True.
Is it hard to keep coming up with ideas? Also, if you need an idea, the free-to-play game Deceit on Steam could be great if you have 5 other friends to join you. I'm not telling you who those friends should be, Ian. I'm not saying... This is me now saying this. It could be anyone. It could be anybody.
Judging by the name of the game, it probably involves that kind of mechanic of could it be anyone?
Deception. I'm horrible at deception. Too genuine.
That sounds like a good... Yeah, I could see you being bad at deception.
You know me. We're actually like we're real friends. Like you know me. You know my lack of lying.
Earnest almost to a fault, maybe.
He's Here it comes. It's all right. I can take it.
No, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
You're gonna help me through my LA journeys. You're gonna be like, you're too earnest. I'm like, I'm too nice. I'll be like,
if you moved out here, I would have to be like, yeah, you gotta get the knives out a little bit.
I got him. I got my katana right over here. It's right over here. I'll grab this. That's Kuroame right over. That's Black Rain. She's ready. She's ready to fall.
You'd get shot if you had that out here.
I wouldn't bring it out. I wouldn't never attack someone. You know me. No, when it happens. But anyway, so you make Easy Update every week.
Yeah.
It's hard to come up with ideas.
Kind of. I mean, like, if I ever don't have an idea, I just lean on one that I've done before.
Sure.
And like, part of the concept of the show going in, and it's much less of a variety show. Like the first half of the series or whatever was a legitimate variety act where it was like 3 things per episode, like a song, the main bit, and then a stinger at the end, you know? Mm-hmm. And over time I realized like, people don't seem to like that. So, it was a bummer because I was mostly doing the songs just to practice, to like hold myself accountable to practice. And I mean, obviously some people like the songs.
Yeah. The songs are great. Didn't.
Some of them are okay. Like I made, I think 87 or 85.
That's amazing. Seriously, that's amazing.
And I'd say there are 5 or 6 decent ones in there. A couple of them maybe I want to like repurpose and like redo, you know. Who knows? Yeah, it's a weird show. Definitely there have been a couple of weeks where I'm just like, oh crap, I gotta make an episode. But what I was saying is from from its very conception, it was meant to be really unpredictable and weird, and the amount of it's funny because some of the episodes that I get accused of being low effort actually are harder than some of the episodes that people love that are really low effort. Like the lowest effort episodes that people seem to like the most are the ones that are just talking. And like people love those. And then there have been ones where I had to do like weird post effects that people are like low effort. And I'm just like, or like the why does this make you mad episode? Like that was hard to do. Like I had to sit there talking repeating that for 10 minutes. Yeah. But I mean like that episode was fun because I couldn't lose, you know, like the people who got it would think it was funny. And the people I made mad, it's like, haha, I got you.
Yeah.
Like
it's the trap.
Yeah. So it was meant to be dumb and weird and crazy and not taking itself too serious, except for when it, you know, is dealing with serious stuff. Mm-hmm. I like keeping people on their toes.
Yeah.
Myself too. Like it gives me the freedom to do whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's great. And as someone who makes a bunch of stuff that doesn't always seem to connect myself, what I think is the biggest factor, obviously, especially with your stuff, is that you are part of it pretty much every time. And that's just like you're showing off parts of yourself in a sense. And that's what people love. And that's like the best thing about the show is that it's you, you know?
Oh, yeah. Love it or hate it. You know?
Yeah. And it's not like, and for a few years now, you haven't really been, obviously you're beholden to the people who support the channel, but you haven't been beholden to somebody like some suit somewhere who's like, hey, we're cutting the funding for this show because it's not getting the numbers. You're like, no, I do this every week, and some weeks go really well and some weeks not so much, and that's just the nature of the beast. So
yeah definitely, you know, there have been some hits and some misses, but that's the nature of it. And I love just not having it be predictable. It is funny though, like we even back with like Mandatory Update and stuff, like our corporate overlords at Game Trailers like never really, they didn't, we had a nice bit of freedom because they didn't really care about us.
Sure.
So like to a certain extent, but there was definitely an episode or like a mandate came down at Defy to Elise and I that like we had to pump the brakes on making fun of Defy, which was pretty funny.
That's hilarious.
Because I loved to do that.
Yeah, it's like The Simpsons. They constantly make fun of Fox. And they're like the biggest show. There's like, it's from Fox or whatever. That was hilarious, I thought.
Well, and now it like, it turned out that Defy was like a scam, not a real company, so whatever. Yeah. But like,
got him.
We came out on the end of that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's cool. Well, I think it's impressive though that it's different every week. It's not. You could easily just have it be the same thing, but maybe.
To me, I think. Or what were you gonna say?
No, please. After you. You're the guest.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I think for me, having it be different is easier in some ways. Sure. Kind of, in a weird way, like because I'm not beholden to having some stringent format that I have to like, and kind of the way I think about it. I mean, obviously now during quarantine, it's very different, but like there are the high effort episodes, like the really produced ones, like the Western musical is probably the biggest one of those, or like the episode 50, like, or, the Ian and Don hit the beach or Ian and Don go to hell kind of stuff. Like there are the high effort, like tentpole episodes that like have a continuous like mythos, and then there are episodes that are like chill out episodes for me or the viewers where it's like, hey, this wasn't like as hard to make, but I thought it was a cute idea, or like, it was just fun to do. I want them to be fun to watch and to do. Yeah.
Well, I will say that only being a guest once, I had a heck of a lot of fun. It was
that episode was great.
It was so much fun. I was like, this is so easy and like just good times, and there's nothing to it, and I hope other people enjoyed it too. From what I've heard, people did. So I haven't heard.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah. It was a real treat. So I was like, oh, it's cool. But again, it's because I've gotten to know you outside of all this, and I like you as a person. Despite all the fame that's gone to your head and all the werehogs that you have, you still seem pretty down to earth. Which I
give it time. Give it time. I'll disappoint you yet.
Nope. I won't let you. My earnesty, it'll get you like an anime protagonist. I'm just gonna and I'll just keep shouting my dreams until they happen. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, he's serious about this. I'll be like, why is he climbing the walls at Paramount? I'll be like, I learned all the ins and outs when I was there on the tour. I know where they shot Frasier. They'll be like, that doesn't matter. I'm like, I'll be taking out quickly.
Bring back
Frasier. He's been shopping around. He's like, it's going to come back. Because he said, like, after he saw Will and Grace, Kelsey Grammer's like, after I saw Will and Grace come back, he's like, we could come back to it. And I'm like, please. But also, I'm kind of scared.
That was so funny.
I would love it. Obviously, John Mahoney couldn't be a part of it, which it's really sad. But I love the idea of Frasier coming back. It's my favorite sitcom, though. So anything Frasier, I'm like, yeah.
A friend of mine who's a critic for AV Club, A. Dowd, he and a friend of mine from Chicago used to do. I mean, I don't know if how much they ever really did with it, but I think they had a blog or a pod. I think this was before the days of podcasts, but they had like a blog where they would go through and just review Frasier episodes.
Amazing. I want to find this. It sounds great.
Yeah, I have no idea how to find it. But
oh my gosh.
I wonder if it's even online or if they're just doing it for themselves. I don't know.
That's what my channel's turning into now. It's just Frasier episodes, even though they just took them all off Netflix and they're going to be on like the Peacock or HBO.
Oh, were they on Netflix before?
They were all on Netflix, and then that with like Friends got like, because Frasier, for a lot of people, like Frasier is not. It did really well. It was like a big critical darling as well, but the masses, like Friends was like the thing at the time, even though Frasier had it had one more season than Friends and had like half the cast. That's all I'm trying to say. And that show,
and they're both the whitest things that have ever happened.
It's true. Well, ironically, Frasier tries to address it later on in some certain episodes that don't age super well, but especially in the first few seasons, they are it's very, very white. It's like me white, like super. Yeah. It's like it's too much. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, my eyes. But there's one episode where Frasier has to deal with an African American woman who is a psychiatrist, but she's got her doctor from the School of Hard Knocks, and she's not a real psychiatrist, and he tries to like pretend like he's her. And he says some stuff like in her voice, and it's like, it's not. It doesn't.
Whoopsie.
It didn't age super well. Besides that, 11 seasons of bliss. Check out Frasier. It's great.
You know, it's like easy update. You're gonna misstep here and there probably.
Yeah, but that's okay because sometimes that's the only way to know like where that line is. You gotta inadvertently cross it once in a while. You'd be like, oh, I stumbled.
Put your toe.
Put a toe.
Accidentally.
Yeah. You know, I'm not gonna keep belaboring these. Like we got a lot of questions here from you because like we'll just save these for next time.
Let's hit them. Lightning round.
Oh, lightning.
Give them all.
Okay, if you want them, here we go. These are from Missile Mage.
I'll answer faster.
All right. If you had the opportunity to remove errors from older movies, the hand in the doorway in Jurassic Park, the stormtrooper bumping his head in Star Wars, would you? Or are the errors just part of their charm now?
Part of the charm.
Part of the charm. I thought you'd say that. I knew you were going to say part of the charm. I thought so too. I agree. A lot of movies have been delayed because we can't go to the cinema at the moment. After quarantine has ended, what movies are you most looking forward to seeing? And he says, I was really looking forward to Mulan. That was Missile Mage.
Mulan. James Bond, hopefully is good.
Do you like the other ones?
I like Casino Royale the most.
That's what a lot of people say. And then like Quantum of Solace, I think they like wrote it like while
Quantum
it
of
was
Solace
happening.
was during the writer's strike,
Yeah.
I believe. And like, yeah, it's not... Quantum of Solace has a few really great visual set pieces. The opera scene is pretty great.
Okay.
Skyfall likewise there's like an eyeball and the like whatever. Skyfall has likewise I think a few cool set pieces, but is largely not great. Inspector is not great.
It's got that cool Day of the Dead scene though.
Yeah, oneer. That's a oneer.
Yeah.
But like Leah Seydoux saying "I love you" is just a little. I love her though, so like she's awesome, but I don't buy that. But yeah, I don't know. She's coming back in the new one though, so it's like there's a continuity now.
Time all up
I don't
together.
know. But Casino Royale is, I mean, pretty easily in my eyes the best Bond. These new Bonds are like kind of a different class than the old one. Whatever. I'm taking a long time answering a question again. I guess it's that.
Yeah, it's that. I don't even know what I would say about this. Mulan, I think, was the one I was most excited about seeing. I know Black Widow got delayed. I'm interested.
I'll see it.
Yeah, I'll see Black Widow. I don't know. We've talked about Marvel stuff before. I want it to be really good. I just wish it would have come out like 5 years ago. That's all. Like
it is strange for reasons I won't say, but it's strange that they're doing it now.
Yeah.
Unless there are larger implications that I guess maybe the Loki show might deal with, or Doctor Strange 2. Who knows?
Again, this is all... I wonder if Kevin Feige gets this a lot, where people ask these questions, and he has like the whole roadmap in his head, and he's like, I could show it to you, and it would make perfect sense, but right now you're all going to think I'm... Yeah, he's like, you all think I'm nuts. And the great thing about Kevin Feige that people don't talk about, he worked on like the old Spider-Man movies, so he knows Sam Raimi, so Sam Raimi's going to come like probably direct Doctor Strange 2, but like he also worked on like X-Men and like X-Men The Last Stand, so that he's like seen where some of these things go in not a great way. Like, and he learned from it, like he wasn't like...
Did they change directors for Doctor Strange 2?
They did. So the one who was on before, whose name I forget, and he was more of like a horror focused.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like scary.
Yeah, but that fell through. I think it was, I don't know if it was creative differences, and I feel like that happens a lot now where they hire someone to like who's going to be like, oh, they're more horror focused, and it's like, we got James Wan to do Aquaman, and it might be kind of scary, and it's like, I mean, it has moments, but so he left, and I think Sam Raimi is now in for directing, or he's part of it somehow, but I'm guessing that's what he would do. But I love the old Spider-Man movies, so I mean, 3's got
They're
some
fun.
problems.
They definitely have a different tone than Marvel movies now.
Yeah, they're much more. I'd say the Spider-Man ones felt way more like kind of not all lighthearted, but it felt like watching
Cartoony.
more of a comic booky. Yeah, like it doesn't feel like MCU tries to kind of make it realistic sometimes, but. Yeah, I think Sam Raimi's a talented guy, and I'd like to see him working, hopefully with less, like obviously he's going to have like studio involvement, but they're not going to be like, you got to put this villain in here, you got to do it. And he's like, I don't want to do it. He could take he could take it in so many different ways though. Multiverse of Madness, man, please just put Ghost Rider in this movie I mean, he's right there. MCU, come on. For the love of everything. Ugh.
My mom loved Ghost Rider.
That's because your mom is amazing. Like, she has good taste. He's basically a Metallica cover. He's like a flaming skeleton with chains. Ugh, I love it. There we go. That's that. We'll wrap it up with those ones because we got through those questions. I don't know if we have any other ones here. I thought we had way more, but I think that's good for now. This is good. So thank you for answering those in a so fast. I edited it so in the future it's just like 2 seconds. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I just didn't even
not even complete sentences.
It's just Anyway, if you guys ever who are listening to this have a question or a topic, or you want to see a guest on the show, something like that, all you have to do is you can tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to me. I'm at JimmyGood013 or at GoCritical over on Twitter. But if you just want to just reach out to Ian, say hi, tell him he's great, because that's what I think Twitter should be for. Ian, where can they find you?
I'm just at Ian Hinck, IANHINCK.
Not just you were just the best. It's so like I wish I tried to get Twitter to give me Jimmy Good, but for some odd reason that guy, whoever's holding on to it, is not using it. This is probably a conversation for another time, but it frustrates me. All right, and I'm very low on the Twitter totem pole. Let's just say I'm near the base. I'm in the dirt. That's fine. Anyway, as we usually say here, I like to thank everybody who's supporting us, and thanks to all of our patrons and all the people who are watching and commenting on the videos. And honestly, those comments, they mean so much to me, and you guys donating your time just to listen. But this week, I would ask that you go please check out my friends over at the Easy Allies. And when I say my friends, I really do mean it. And more so importantly, if you're going to donate money to them, think of it as donating it to your favorite one. Because that's just, you use that mental
Don.
game.
Yeah.
Don. His name's Don. He's the only one who runs it. He's the only Easy Ally member who's left, in this world. And
he needs it. He needs it.
But no, please go support them. Go check out and support Ian because you're great. You're really
Thanks.
good.
Thank you. You're great.
You're creative.
I think people should support you.
Well, I think they should support whoever they want because I would never force them into. No, just kidding. See, that's great. We're like the angry parents now. To be like, I got him this. I got him that. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. But I just love having you on, man. It's been too long, and it's a real pleasure. I feel like I've gotten to be on, Easy Update, and then also hang out with you a little bit. It's been great, even though that felt like you said at the beginning, 100 years ago. It was only a month and a half ago.
I was shocked that it was only a month and a half ago. I thought it was 3 months ago.
Yeah. I'll say this much. I enjoyed Disneyland, but it just wasn't the same without you. It's not the same.
I can't remember what I was doing that day.
You
shooting or something?
Karaoke. One of those days.
One of the days.
Did you go karaoke? Was it good?
Yeah, it was okay.
Good. I would love to karaoke. Oh man, don't get me singing.
Do karaoke?
I'll do some karaoke.
Well, next time, once we're ever allowed to travel again, I'll let you know.
Dude, I'm totally. And one day I'll be out there, so I'll just be like, you want karaoke tonight? And you'll be like, dude, I'm working on my synths. And I'll be like, you're always working on your synths. And you'll be like, yeah, man, I'm going to make it big. And then one day you'll just be like the greatest synth megastar. It's so good.
I doubt it.
I would love it. Is synth megastar a thing?
Oh, sure. Probably.
Okay. Oh, sure, probably.
They're more just electronic musicians,
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. It's.
But they're synth megastars, basically.
I see. Okay.
Your Amon Taubens, your Aphex Twins, your Square Pushers, your Boards of Canadas, your Lorns, your.
Wait, do you have a synth name? Do you have a synth name you'd work under if you could, a dream synth name?
I got an idea.
Okay, but you're not gonna share it. I understand.
It's a secret.
It's like a baby name. No one wants to tell people because the second you do, someone's gonna be like, "Well, I knew a David. And he sucked. He
was the worst.
Yeah, I hate him." And you're like, "Well, that was the name of my grandfather and her great great grandfather." So
yeah.
Sorry, but I guess he's gonna suck. You're like, "Well, you can't call him Dave because I really hate this Dave guy."
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'm looking forward to hearing that one day. But either way, thank you again so much for being on my wacky, weird show. I appreciate you. So thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, and again, thanks to everybody listening. I appreciate it. And until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome. Bye-bye.